There's a lot of things in life that are out of our control. Aging, the passage of time, taxes, those intrusive memories of those cringe things you said or did in high school. In fact, it's probably easier to list all the things we individually can control, like ourselves. But anyone who's listened to the Star Talk debates on free will know how much of an asterisk comes with ourselves. The body and environment we're born in distinctly aren't in our control. What lengths might a person go to try and reclaim a sense of control? Perhaps dehumanize yourself and others around you under the idea that everything is just a nuance-free cartoon where nothing matters? Not even your own feelings? Yep, it's another Jax video to be buried under the mountain of Jax videos already on YouTube. There may be many. This one is mine. I'm here to argue whether or not the amazing digital circus being the Pomni and Jax show in disguise was a good idea. Spoilers ahead, and 2 disclaimers before we get started. 1. This is not a Jax apologist video. If Jax makes you mad, good. You should be. Tragedy doesn't excuse being a butt. Jax is a jerk. Gooseworks, the creator, says Jax is a jerk, and this doesn't need to be discussed further. Thank you. 2. In the show, Jax never comes out as she, her. So to talk about the Jax that we strictly got from the show, the Jax whose egg didn't crack, and not the canon hypothetical Jax if she wasn't a piece of shit, I'm going to use he, him for this video. It doesn't mean I won't use she, her in potential future videos, but I just want to make it clear what's going on in this one. If you hate that still, feel free to tell me all the reasons why in the comments. Odds are I'll see it and heart it, unless you're just trying to be mean. Don't be mean. Spread kindness. To start this, I want us to define something. What is nihilism? A deeper question than you might think. Not just an excuse to be mean. There are multiple different kinds, even. I think this comes with the territory of existential dread, which the amazing digital circus loves, so I want us all to be on the same page here. A gross oversimplification of nihilism is that nothing has inherent meaning. No divine purpose, no preset plan, no truly objective truths to reality. It's not inherently pessimistic, but it's easy to fall into pessimistic mindsets, especially if you're friends with nothing but nihilists or something. The different flavors of nihilism, however, reject specific aspects of existence. I won't go into extensive breakdown of every single kind of nihilism, as I'm not an expert, but some easy ones you can Google deep dive include existential nihilism, human existence and the world as a whole lacks a higher purpose, and that there is no point to literally anything. Moral nihilism, which only focuses on ethics, i.e., there are no objective moral facts. Morality itself is subjective. Relativism, which focuses on the idea that no one or anything can truly be 100% objective. Metaphysical nihilism, which deals with existential questions like, would anything else be here if we human beings weren't here? It's a lot. Why is this important? Because the environment of the digital circus encourages nihilism at every turn. From the pointless adventures that come and go, pain that lacks any long-term physical consequences, eating, sleeping, bathrooming, and most things we do day to day no longer being required or maybe even possible. And finally, at the end, knowing that they're just brain scans, artificial copies of real people. They're pieces of data within an artificial reality. They are something most humans would look at and probably say aren't people. Unless you watch the show. Arguments to justify having a nihilistic mindset in the circus are there. And why is that important? Because the environment of a story is important to understand what we're discussing on our next part. What is the show's main argument? Stick with me, I'm cooking here. So what is the show's core argument? Well, if I had to sum it up in 2 words, I'd say positive nihilism. Positive nihilism, for those unfamiliar, posits that nothing has inherent meaning, but it's looked at as a good thing. Under this philosophy, we're free to create our own meaning. You are free to decide what your purpose in life is and the value of everything around you. including yourself. A random thing you made years ago may be considered trash in most others' hands, but in your hands, it may be priceless. Positive nihilism is demonstrated in moments like episode 2, with Pomni finding personhood in Gummy Goo, an NPC that we now know wasn't any more or less alive than anyone in the main cast. Episode 3, Kinger arguing that the pointlessness of the circus isn't so pointless if you have people that you care about you. Episode 6, where Kinger and Zubul help to comfort and support their respective partner through a moment of self-hatred. Zubul specifically argues that self-love, placing value in yourself basically, is an active choice people should do, even if it doesn't seem like it makes sense on the surface. A classic I think therefore I am moment. In the beginning of episode 8, where Pomni argues that rather than trying to leave the circus, spinning their wheels at something that might never happen, they need to live and focus on what they have, not what they don't. Zubul believes that they are no longer able to leave a mark on the world, and Gangle retorts, telling Zubul that they've left a mark on their life just by being there for her. And in episode 9, where almost everyone decides to repair the world, slowly bringing color back, building new lives for themselves, even after finding out that they're technically not alive, at least in the traditional sense. Pomni, our main protagonist, our POV character, with the help of Kinger, carries this theme on her back throughout the show, with almost all the therapy moments that we see. She hates the idea of feeling like nothing and anybody else feeling like nothing. But every main protagonist needs a main antagonist. Who is the main antagonist of the amazing digital circus? We're approaching the point of the video. I promise, just let me cook a bit more. Let me cook, Jesse. What is an antagonist? It's not a mean, evil person, villain person. It just means someone who's in opposition with the protagonist. Opposition being anything from being two sides of a war, or to just something smaller as a singular person who's a philosophical opposite. So is Cain the main antagonist? I argue no. He sure is an antagonistic force, what with all the Gummy Goo deleting, lack of listening, and psychological torture near the end there. But he doesn't directly stand in opposition to positive nihilism. Despite his faults, Cain puts a lot of stock in his creations, and he hangs his own self-esteem on what others think of them for 99% of the show. And probably even after. I think his interaction that we see with Gangle shows that Cain really is just an artist at heart. Cain's not a nihilist. But you know who is? Jax! In episode 6, we have characters reaffirming their humanity, while Jax is literally doing the opposite. He posits that they're all just cartoons playing the role of a two-dimensional character, part of the machine, as he puts it. Then later in the episode, while he's crashing out, he basically tells Pomni that he's the evil big bad bunny and there's nothing deeper to him. He consistently shows through his words and his actions that nothing matters, that they aren't real, and when those ideas don't line up with reality, he has a panic attack about it. He's consistently drinking the Kool-Aid of pessimistic nihilism, and it ends with him abstracting, an unhappy philosophy leading to an abrupt, unhappy ending. Jax is the main antagonist of the amazing digital circus. He's the antithesis to the show's core philosophy, that despite everything that tells you not to care, to give up, that nothing matters, and that you're not a real person, well, if none of it matters, then that means everything matters. You and everything matters if you say it does. To care, to acknowledge, to feel is to give meaning, and that is where living life happens. This is why the show focuses so much on Jax. So, did Jax deserve so much spotlight? Yes! But, okay. Functionally speaking, Jax needed to have focus. To have a message that's clear, a story needs to present some kind of targeted opposition to the message, or else you get a story that might as well be a sermon, and those are boring. I like a little bite to my themes, thank you. Should the story have been more clear that the Amazing Digital Circus was actually the Jackson Pomni show in disguise? Maybe. But I'd argue that the show being misleading was an intentional feature, not a bug. I mean, just look at all the build-up to episode 7, and then what episode 7 did with all the fan theories.
Wait, what?
It's hilarious. It would definitely have been nice if other characters got more focus and time to shine. Absolutely. But I think the character writing we got here is top-notch. For a show about computer programs asserting their personhood, I think everyone came out the other side feeling convincingly real. Not to mention the fact that Gooseworks was the only writer for the show. You don't have to sympathize with Jax, or even like him. That's not what I'm arguing. Many of us, including myself, have been on the receiving end of people like Jax. And I know many people are bored of the jerk but actually a misunderstood puppy dog type characters. Thanks, Zuko. But I think something the Amazing Digital Circus wants to show with Jax, and by extension Kane, is that being a jerk isn't a quality we're born with. It's something carefully cultivated as a result of too many random things we can't reasonably quantify that somehow lead individuals to becoming jerks and not have the awareness of said jerkiness. And that jerks can become not jerks. As crazy as it is to remind ourselves, we're all people, the protagonists of our own story. We're all messy, complicated weirdos that have to play the random hands we're dealt. And some of us do not get the best of hands. It doesn't excuse any terrible things we do, by no means, but keeping this in mind can help us remember that we're all capable of all kinds of change, all kinds of growth. We're all works in progress from the moment we're born to the moment we die. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves you with 5 out of 5 gold stars in the comments below for making it this far. Leaving any kind of interaction would be greatly appreciated if you made it this far. Please, support my lunacy. Even though the execution can be critiqued, as all things can be, Jackson Pomni taking most of the spotlight was a necessary inevitability, in my opinion, even if it wasn't obvious at first. And if digital entities living in an abandoned server that's running on borrowed time can find meaning in their lives, then you, yes you, specifically you, I'm talking to you, look at me, look at me.
Look at my face. Connect with me.
A flesh and blood creature who's probably not in the Matrix can find something that makes your life feel meaningful. Nobody can give it to you, but finding one and the growth of the self is a journey that can have plenty of meaning all on its own. So don't be a nihilist. Be a nihilist. Here's the outro. Ciao!
Wait, what? Wait, what?